Hello, and welcome to the official podcast of JustDubs Online, the JustDubscast, otherwise known as Three Dumb Americans and That Australian Guy. I'm your host, BaconMan8910, your friendly neighborhood news and media moderator on JustDubsOnline.net, and joining me today are my good friends Delta Romeo.
Hey guys.
RougeAssassin.
Hey there.
Christ. RougeAssassin.
Awesome.
Oh my god. So already off to a great start. And Znelson.
Hey.
So this is our first attempt at reviving the old JustDubs podcast. For those of you who don't know, back when we were JustDubs.net, we did originally have an old podcast. I believe, and don't quote me on this, because somebody's going to quote me on this and be like, hey Bacon, you're an idiot. I believe that Shogun was heavily involved with that, and I believe he's one of the last members on the forum who actually was involved in the creation of that back on JustDubs.net. But now that we have moved to JustDubs Online, we're hoping to revive it. And yes, for the record, we are the same guys who brought you JustDubs.net. We've just gone through quite a few name changes, some of which have been more confusing than others.
Oh yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah, we started with JustDubs.net, and I believe Noe was the admin there. And so what ended up happening was we ended up getting hit with copyright strikes. So that site goes down. Then we moved to JustDubs Refuge, which is a private forum for old JustDubs members to just continue the community. And some of you may remember. I was never on JustDubs Refuge. I actually didn't know it existed until Dubtopian Review, which was our next site after JustDubs Refuge.
I was on the Refuge site, but I also was on the RP forums that kind of branched off after that. Text-based role-playing.
Oh, is that's Miss Elegant Serenity? That's her club, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We kind of branched off a little bit, and then when everything came to just JDO, we were back. So
I actually, I originally, I can't remember. There was some old site that I used to watch all of my anime on, but it went down like a long time ago, and from there I actually moved to JustDubs.net and I started watching my anime there, and I've been watching it for months. And then I decided, they have a forum on here. Maybe I should actually try to interact with the community. So I made an account. I posted in the new members thread, and like a few days later, the site went down.
I was about to say, I joined JustDubs.net about a couple of months before it went down. But I was never part of the community. I was just watching my anime there at the time.
So,
yeah, I used it to watch anime for quite a while, and then one day I was like, I think I'll check out the forum, and I tried to get on it, and it was just gone.
Well, I kind of feel old now. I joined JD back in 2011.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So yeah, an old member.
Yeah, I didn't get really involved until Dubtopian Review when Bedhead Red was the admin there, and Sporadic, who is our current admin, was the admin of Dubtopia, which was a separate site, but technically the same site. It was a
in case the copyrights came back, I think.
Yes, exactly. The idea was Stevie K was the super admin. He was the admin of both sites. Bedhead Red managed Dubtopian Review, and Sporadic managed Dubtopia. Dubtopian Review is for reviews and for the community. Dubtopia is for streaming anime. And the idea was, if we get hit with copyright strikes again, only Dubtopia will go down. But Dubtopian Review will remain. Of course, you guys probably know that Bedhead Red had to leave us for personal reasons, which is totally fine. And Stevie K, I'm not entirely sure what the story is, but I know that he wished to step down as admin as well. So that left Sporadic, who initiated our next name change to just Dubtopia. So he integrated the two sites and just made it Dubtopia. A short while after that, we were like, we don't want to be called Dubtopia anymore. Partly because Dubtopia is the name of some dubstep group that comes up every time you Google us.
Exactly, that kind of made it hard, so.
Yeah. So for SEO reasons, and also because we wanted to make it clear that we are the original JustDubs community, and we want to get back to our roots in a way, we decided to take back that name and go back to JustDubs Online. There have been, and we won't talk much about it, but there have been several sites who have tried to use JustDubs.net name to create their own site, and that has been problematic in the past. Some of them even going so far as to just copy the site outright. But
everything I don't see its design.
Yeah, exactly. Down to the very core of it. You would think it was the same site, and some people probably did. But we're not really worried about them anymore. We're more concerned with we're less concerned with people trying to resurrect the ghost of some of our former incarnations, and more concerned with just creating our own community and giving our members the best experience possible. So
site news.
Yeah, so let's move on to site news. We actually don't have much in the way of site news so far this week. The only thing that we really have, you guys may recall that we had a survey recently. I don't know if...
Vaguely, the last month or so, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if... Did any of you guys take the survey?
I did.
I think I did, yeah.
We actually just got the results back from that, and Sporadic has actually posted the results, and surprisingly, I was really surprised that we had 550 respondents. I was expecting like 30 people to be alive to respond.
Wow.
There are actually some surprising answers in here as well. Like, for example, the most popular section of the forum is, go figure, anime discussions on an anime site. Oh. That's surprising. I was actually expecting the Asylum to be the most popular, but it's not. Actually, anime discussion, and then the media section, and then clubs and groups are the most popular parts of our forums. News and media have actually been rated pretty highly in the survey, much more so than any of us really expected. So we're working to expand that a little bit. If you browse around the forums, you'll probably notice that we post a lot of dubbed anime news. We also do subbed anime news and manga news. But in addition to that, we also do video game news, TV and movies news, and we have multiple media articles that we write every week. I myself actually write Oh Japan, where I talk about crazy shit that has happened in Japan, like giant butts that you can walk through.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Or the world's largest orgy.
Or the world's largest orgy. Or the most recent one was poop-flavored curry.
Oh, jeez. Served from a toilet bowl.
Oh, yeah. It's served from an actual toilet bowl. And it's like, what the fuck? And if you eat
who is paying for that?
You know what?
People, they want curry.
Apparently. Actually, they did a survey of people. Some local news station did a survey to see who would want to eat there. And something like 80% of people were like, fuck no, I'm not going to eat poop-flavored curry. And the other, 20% were like, I would think about it. And, there was, 3% that, yes, I definitely want to eat poop-flavored curry.
Because everyone's got their tastes.
Yeah. Hey, it's a niche market, and they're breaking into it. Yeah, so I think the funniest part about that is the chef who started the restaurant. When asked how he knows how poop tastes, it turns out he's actually an adult film actor. And according to him, he's had some run-ins with human waste during his time in the adult film industry, and so he knows the exact flavor and consistency that he needs for fruit-flavored curry.
Oh, wow. That's... Wow.
Yeah, his reasoning behind all of this was just it was actually really simple. It was just, he wanted his curry shop to be the first in the world to do something, and turns out they're the first ones to make poop-flavored curry. And I don't know if it ever occurred to him that there's a reason for that.
We have to start somewhere. Could always expand on that market, I suppose.
Guess so. I mean, I don't think those.
I actually mentioned in my article that in order to attract more discerning, quote unquote, discerning customers, he actually hoped that he actually had stuff like a dartboard and a few other things, and he's like, I'm hoping that this will bring in people who aren't necessarily here for the curry. Because I'm thinking he realizes there's not a huge market for poop-flavored curry, but maybe there is for dartboards.
Maybe, you could take the poop-flavored curry and use it in the adult film industry instead of actually using real human waste. Just give it a slight spice instead of just straight up disgusting. I don't know.
But then what do you... Oh, you know what? That's just opening a whole other door of weirdness that the adult film industry will get into, because then you no longer have scat porn. You have people shoving poop flavored curry up each other's. Yeah.
Wow, sounds adventurous.
Eat it off.
Oh yeah, it's adventurous, all right. Adventure. Something else I actually wanted to talk about on our podcast today was. And this isn't anime related, but this is video game related. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain released today, at least for Delta, I believe it released today.
I'm halfway through the hospital, I think, before I had to come on. My collector's edition showed up late to the store, so I had to wait an extra 3 hours to pick it up. I was pissed.
Oh yeah, you just have to wait around the store.
I got there when they opened. My mate bought a day one edition just off the shelf, and he was going to come back and swap it back out for his collectors, just so he could play it. And I was just sitting there going, I don't have the money to get into day one, and I'm not going to start playing the game just to stop it, take it out, run back down to the store, pick up my collectors, and come back and play it again.
Yeah, seriously. But so it turns out that if you buy a physical copy of the PC version of Phantom Pain, the only thing contained on the disc is a Steam installer. And that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems to be the way that the industry's going, at least for PC gaming, is most games just now have Steam keys or something of the like.
Well, Steam is definitely, I think, to some degree, caused the revival of PC gaming, and I do think that the majority of PC games probably occur on Steam these days. But if you're going to sell a physical copy of a game, and then you're like, oh, and then like it just amounts to fuck you, download Steam.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
And you know what? For a lot of people, it's not going to be a big deal. But for people who need a physical copy because they live in areas where, yeah, if you live in the mountains, if you live in Australia, if you live in anywhere that doesn't have great internet connection, downloading 28 gigabytes is gonna be a bit of a pain.
Just go to your local library. Camp out there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I have to pay to use my library's internet, and I've got unlimited at home. Tore through over 1 terabyte last month, so I'm sure I'm good.
Yeah. But I think that this speaks to a bigger problem, which is fuck Konami. Because you guys may or may not have heard about this, but Konami, if you've been keeping up with them, they've just been utter shitlords lately.
Yeah, they have been.
Kojima's resigned.
Yeah.
I say that with giant air quotes.
Yeah, resigned. I mean, there are reports from multiple former Konami employees, and this is purely anecdotal. There's no way we can barge into Konami's office and prove this. But multiple.
Not without a one-way plane ticket, no.
No. But, multiple employees have said Konami is doing this stuff where they are actively reassigning developers to different teams. Like if you worked on, for example, Dance Dance Revolution, all of a sudden you're no longer with your development team, you are now with the audio design team. And people who they don't want anymore, they'll make you a janitor or a security guard, and they'll remove your computer or turn off your office's electricity. But if you are a developer for this huge company who's made games like Castlevania, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, and you're pretty much living the dream at that point, aren't you? And when all of a sudden your publisher says, "Fuck you, you can only do this job that you've busted your ass to get," you're not going to be a security officer, and you're no longer going to be able to use the skills that you have brought
to college for.
Yeah, you went to college for, but not only that, but that you brought to all these games that made Konami what Konami is. Because I think Konami doesn't exactly realize they're not responsible for these games. It's the developers that are responsible. It's people like Kojima who made Metal Gear Solid what it is. It's not the Konami executives that did it.
He was a Konami executive.
Yeah, well, yes, but you know, I think you're just trying to be contrary, Delta.
Devil's advocate, someone has to play it.
Sir, the devil's advocates are marching on Fort Reason. But it's I don't know, it's just, it seems ridiculous that Konami has just, I feel like they're squandering everything and everyone that made them a household name, and instead they're focusing on pachinko machines.
And
yeah,
Android
that was
apps
lovely.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, Android. Yeah, pretty much mobile and pachinko. Which
sold off Silent Hills to Microsoft, I believe, and the guess is that Sony's going to take out Metal Gear, just if they sell that asset off.
I don't know.
As long as the games get picked up by a company that actually, gives two damns. Instead of
knows how to make a game.
As long as Ubisoft or EA doesn't take it, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, EA.
Anyone but EA.
Basically, you have EA, which is the American EA, Ubisoft, which is the French EA, and then Konami, which is the Japanese EA.
And BioWare combined.
I'm actually really looking forward to the game Bloodstained by Kaji Inafune, who worked on Symphony of the Night. Because I really love the Metroidvania-style Castlevania games, and I'm really looking forward to them bringing those back. I really didn't like what they did with Lords of Shadow, and basically turned it into a God of War clone, but with a Castlevania reskin, but it still didn't even feel much like Castlevania.
Yeah, Lords of Shadow was a pretty... I mean, I don't think it was a bad game, but it was very miss for me. It wasn't what I was expecting from Castlevania, that's for sure.
It was a competent game. I think that if they had sold it under some other title, I might be more forgiving. But, I mean, not only that, it's like, you get Lords of Shadow, but not only do you get Lords of Shadow, we're not going to make Metroidvania-style Castlevania games anymore, simply because those don't sell. Which I have a hard time believing that they don't sell, considering how many there are and how successful they've been and how successful the Bloodstained Kickstarter was.
Yeah,
we gotta look at the statistics. The statistics say people don't want these sort of games. Cough, cough.
The statistics that guy named Larry in accounting came up with last night.
I think AAA publishing has like a problem with focus testing the shit out of everything.
Look at the Battlefield franchise. That's pretty much dropped a campaign because no one wanted a campaign.
Yeah.
So now, was it Star Wars Battlefront's not going to have a campaign per se because people don't want it.
How do you guys feel about multiplayer only games? Because for me, I'm very wary about buying them, especially at full price, because I know those servers aren't going to be up forever. And even if they are, I know they're not going to be populated forever. So I know that my game has a limited lifespan.
Does plus
look at
plus
Titanfall.
when you are at sorry.
Oh no, you keep going.
Plus with multiplayer only games, if you live in an area that their internet goes out frequently, you won't be able to play that game if it's multiplayer only and no campaign. And that can really affect your decision in buying that game.
For sure, especially there's a lot of countries who still have issues with this. America, especially, our internet infrastructure is shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people are still using DSL. Those who aren't, a lot of them are for like some unfathomable reason. I guess they can't get DSL, or maybe they just can't afford it. Are still using dial-up in rural areas of the country, which the majority of the United States is rural.
And some of them are using satellite connections, so...
Which is a good option if you don't have anything else, but it's entirely dependent on the weather. And that's kind of an issue. Because if you ever had satellite TV...
expensive.
Yeah, and it can get ridiculously expensive, and the reason why is because they know that's who their market is the people who don't have any other options.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. For the future of multiplayer games, you really just look at Titanfall. It had a massive following. It was a really interesting, gimmicky game, really, because they added some gimmicks to really sell the game and make it stand out. But I know so many people that have bought Titanfall and they don't touch it anymore, and it's just because it got sort of... It's still popular, but it got lost in the slew of all the other multiplayer games. I mean, there's tons of them out there, and it's just... Unless you make a game that's just got a quality so much higher than all the other multiplayer games, then it's not going to live, or at least be worth it, in my opinion.
Right. I've also heard that, and I've never played Titanfall, but I've also heard that one reason that that Titanfall didn't last very long, because there was a ton of fanfare leading up to it and upon its release, and then like a few weeks afterwards, you didn't hear anything about it. But I've heard that one of the issues with it is that it was basically Call of Duty with mechs, which as a premise sounds awesome. But in practice, you need a little more than that, it seems. Because we've already got a Call of Duty. We don't need another Call of Duty. I mean, you see Medal of Honor that EA has produced trying to be Call of Duty. They're trying to capture the lightning in a bottle that Activision has created. And they just do not get why they're successful. It's because we already have Call of Duty. We don't want to buy your Call of Duty. Make something else.
Warfighter.
Oh, Warfighter.
A good game to actually look at for multiplayer only schematics is honestly League of Legends and the other sort of MOBA games, and there have been so many of them, but they're normally free to play, which if you're going to have multiplayer only is going to be really your only way to sustain it, is hopefully with microtransactions, which sounds terrible, but people aren't going to want to keep having to buy $60 games over and over and over again every like year and a half or year to keep up with the newest competitive multiplayer. And plus, they're very active in their community with rebalancing and adjusting, and they really listen and communicate to their fan base pretty well, and that's really why they've been able to survive so long and become so ridiculously popular.
Plus, you add your like Gold or PlayStation Plus on top of that if you're playing on console, so there's another X amount of money on top of that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that I do not play Call of Duty. The reason I have only bought... Actually, I've not bought any Call of Duty game to date. I've played almost every single one, but every single one has either been bought by my father or my brother, my little brother, and I just borrow them from them because I don't want to spend money on a full-price game that I have no interest in the campaign, because the campaign is short and I feel lackluster. It just doesn't interest me. And I know that the multiplayer is going to die off soon, especially with annual releases of Call of Duty. I know that the next one is going to be coming up very, very shortly, and that I'll have to get that one. But I used to have a Xbox Live subscription for my 360, so that I could play Call of Duty with my friends and stuff. And honestly, if I was purchasing those yearly releases and then having to pay for Xbox Live Gold on top of that, which is not inexpensive, that would I don't know that I can't. I don't feel like I can justify that expense in the grand scheme of things, because it really is. Here's something that I'm not going to use unless I'm playing it with my friends or I'm playing it online, and I'm not going to be doing that for that long. So I kind of feel like, what's the point? Because the majority of my games, I do not trade in my games because I like to keep them. I have all the games that I've ever bought, and the majority of my games, I replay them. I love replaying them. If I buy a game, I expect that I'm going to be able to play it through, and then a few years down the road, I'm going to be able to play it again and have the same experience that I had on day one.
And the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And I feel like you can't get that in multiplayer only experiences, except for like Z mentioned. If you have free to play MOBAs, RTSs, things like that, you might spend some money on microtransactions here and there, but ultimately you're going to get a lot more time for your investment, because your primary investment in free to play games is just time. It's not monetary. Speaking of microtransactions, taking us back around to Metal Gear Solid 5 again, there are microtransactions in Metal Gear Solid 5. Delta, have you had a chance to play the game and see what those are like in the game?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm probably about just over halfway through the hospital. I've actually just got up to where the ambulance is. I did look at the microtransactions. At the moment, it's just got Mother Base coins available. Konami did state a few months ago that the FOBs, which are an expansion into Mother Base, will not be locked behind a paywall. So you can build them up in game, but it takes a lot longer. So they're designed to be a shortcut for people who don't have time.
Right.
But due to a couple of other news articles I've read, it may look like that you may get your FOB basic start off for free, but if you want to expand beyond that in the multiplayer world on that side, you actually have to pay to unlock more of it, which is going to be a bit of a downer if that's the case.
Here's my concern about it. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, is a $60 full-price game. It is a full-price AAA publisher release, and honestly, I take issue with microtransactions being in any full-price game, and you know, the publisher and many other people will argue, well, they're optional. They exist to I guess expedite your gaming experience, but
or shorten it.
Right, which I don't buy that argument, and here's why. The only way it could expedite something is if the people who developed the game or the publisher dictated that it had to be slowed down in this certain area to begin with. I feel like even though microtransactions are quote-unquote optional, they're never really optional. No one ever offers a service and expects you to just opt out of it. I really feel like it is, in some essence, almost psychological warfare on many levels, in that they I'll use Dead Space 3 for an example. Dead Space 3 did something similar in implementing microtransactions with their crafting system, which played a huge part in the game, and it was entirely optional. But if you did not purchase the microtransactions, you would have to wait an inordinate amount of time in order to gather new resources and materials for crafting, and really it when compared to the people who did buy into that and purchase those microtransactions, your gaming experience as somebody who opted out of those is, I feel, of a lesser quality than that of those who did not. And I feel like if I'm going to pay full price for a game, I want the whole package. I don't want most of the package, and then here's some extra bells and whistles that you can pay us in game for. For me, it's just no. If I'm giving you my money, I want the product that you're selling. I don't want a piece of the product.
It's sort of similar to the DLC argument, where if they complete the game, they just give you half of it that you can play until you unlock the other half with extra money. Destiny, I suppose, is a great example of that, where they had all the maps, everything there on the disc.
Right.
It's just you have to download like a 200 kilobit file or something to maybe patch a bit of code to unlock it all.
And on disc DLC is another example of that as well. I kind of feel like it's bullshit because, like I said, it's on the disc. It's on the physical disc that you have purchased. You just can't have it. I do feel like DLC in general isn't an issue because DLC has kind of existed for a very long time. If you played PC games in the 90s, you may recall expansion packs.
Expansions are different. They were made after the game was completed.
Exactly, but not there. Which brings me to my point that DLC that is created in what I would call good faith, as something that is not part of the main game experience. It's not part of, for example, I'll use The Witcher 3. If you buy The Witcher 3, there is DLC coming for The Witcher 3, but it's still in development. It's something that is currently being worked on, and it's meant to not just tack something onto the main game or flesh out the main game a bit more. Their DLC is planned to be an actual expansion. It is meant to be its own standalone experience. I actually have a bunch of free DLC, but I'm talking about their upcoming paid-for DLC, which they claim will be roughly the size of The Witcher 2. So that should be interesting. But I think DLC done right is not something that tacks things onto the main game, but instead gives you a new experience and is practically its own standalone game.
I miss expansion packs.
Exactly.
Which
like
were that essentially.
Like for recently, when you guys know about Postal 2, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they this past April they released Paradise Lost, which is I like the way they explain Postal 3 and it expands on Postal 2, and that's a good example of DLC done right.
Yeah, I feel like there are fewer and fewer examples of DLC done right. But the reason I brought up expansion packs from the 90s is because I feel that is the example of how to do DLC right.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A good example I think is Civ 5. If you look at Civ 5's DLC, is they actually make their DLCs after they made the base game, and each DLC really improved upon the base mechanics of the game to build and mold it into something greater. And it continued with Gods and Kings, and then they did it again in Brave New World by really listening to a lot of feedback from players on the game about things that players were like, we don't like this, we do like this, and they added that into the game, which I always thought was very good because I got it day one as soon as it came out, and I'll admit that I was pretty thoroughly disappointed. But after I got both of the DLCs after well over a year from even playing the original, I really felt rewarded. Like, I felt like the game really came to be a quality that I felt really should have been in the beginning, but I really respect the developers for taking the time and effort to get the game to where they believe the quality should have been.
I've actually not played the base game of Civ 5. I actually bought the complete edition before I ever played it, so I already had Gods and Kings and Brave New World. So I'm actually not sure what it was like pre-DLC. I'm actually not entirely sure what the DLC adds in, just because I've not picked it apart like that. But would these improvements not serve just as well as a patch or an update, rather than being packaged with the DLC?
Well, the multitude of changes that were really made, the reason I think they did it as a DLC too is some players prefer to play the base game. They don't like the changes made in some of the DLCs, and some some of them don't like the Gods and Kings, which adds a religion mechanic. And the advantage that they have is they sort of added them almost as if they were mods, like you could download in the workshop, to where you can actually turn them off in game if you want to. And it really, the way that they did it, I think, made it to where the game would apply to anyone, but there were quite a few changes, and I feel like if they might have just released a patch and changed it for everyone, it could have backfired with players not liking some of the changes. So they sort of took a neutral approach, and yeah, they made money off of it, but their DLCs weren't excessively priced either. I felt like I really got enough bonuses for the quality and the money that I received from paying those DLCs.
One expansion pack that I remember very fondly was, I don't know, have any of you guys ever played the original StarCraft?
Yeah.
I haven't, no. I haven't.
The original StarCraft actually had an expansion pack called Brood War, and it was practically its own standalone game that just continued the story, and I feel like that was a good example of how to do things right. StarCraft 2 is actually, if you did play the original StarCraft, you'd notice that it has 3 campaigns, one for each race, and with StarCraft 2 they've divided it into 3 games, one for each race. And at first I took issue with this, but I feel like Blizzard has actually handled it pretty well by not actually charging full price for the release of each of these. So they are all roughly the cost of an expansion pack, roughly around $30. And if you've waited until now to try StarCraft 2, then you can actually get the battle chest with all 3 for $60, which is the price of a full price game, despite them releasing the newest one sometime at the end of this year. So I feel like they've handled that pretty well. Some things I don't feel like Blizzard's handled very well is pricing of stuff like World of Warcraft, which I think is ludicrous.
Yeah, they get people to pay it.
They do. Actually, World of Warcraft is actually at its lowest subscriber count in history. Or, excuse me, since the base game, anyway. So I don't know. Maybe they have run their course, maybe they haven't. It's hard to say. But they do get people to pay it. But it is like you're buying a new game over and over again just to play the same game.
Oh, Blizzard's sitting on the mountain of gold, so I don't hear them complaining.
Oh yeah, they are. I remember when World of Warcraft released, and I was just so disappointed. I'm like, oh, I wanted Warcraft 4.
I think we all wanted Warcraft 4.
Yeah, so I'm just waiting for World of Warcraft to crash and burn, and then they'll be like, oh, now I have to go back to RTS.
Well, I think Blizzard kind of knows that World of Warcraft's gonna crash soon, because they started releasing things like boosting your characters to like the max level, and you can just buy your experience now. I think they're really trying to cash in on it while they know that they still can.
I do think it has an expiration date. I don't know when that expiration date is, but I think that any game like that has an expiration date at some point.
Usually for most companies, it's when the server maintenance outweighs the revenue from the subscriptions.
Exactly. That's why so many of World of Warcraft's competitors end up just going free to play. Like they try so hard, and it doesn't work out, and so then they're like, please come back, please play our game, it's free.
The Old Republic's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and Guild Wars 2 just went completely free to play. You don't even have to buy the game now. Which...
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, actually.
One thing that I really dislike for just DLC and microtransactions in general is when it's really a competitive boost. Like, things like an experience boost, I don't really care as much about, or like a gold boost, but when it's something that gives you an actual edge in competitive play, like buying a better weapon than other people can get, and they can't get that weapon unless they pay too, and stuff like that, I really take issue with. Going, again, back to the MOBAs, what I like with most of their, actually I think all of their premium transactions are just skins or things like that have no effect on gameplay, but are at least when it comes to competitiveness, I feel like it's unfair to make it from free to play to pay to win.
I agree. I feel like pay to win models are unfair and kind of. I feel like it greatly discourages trying to actually play the game for free.
It does. Yeah. The one reason I like to play TF2 is because most of their microtransactions don't actually give you a boost in the game, but you have to figure out how to use each one to their advantage
and the hats.
Yeah, like
and
hats, taunts,
hat-based economy.
Yes, I mean that's what it is,
exactly.
Right? I mean it's practically Texas.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's not in a valley.
No.
Well, you could probably make a map for a valley if you wanted to.
The joke is, my girlfriend lives in Texas, and everyone down there has the stereotypical Valley Girl accent for some reason, and I have no idea how. It might just be all of her friends, but
it might be. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Texas. It could be literally anything. It could be just some Republican conspiracy. Okay, well, since we are an anime site and an anime podcast, we probably should talk about the animus for a bit.
Yes.
I was thinking half an hour ago. So went off topic with Metal Gear, and now we're back to anime.
And back on topic. I haven't been watching too much anime lately, but I have been watching Dragon Ball Z. I've decided to rewatch Dragon Ball Z. I'm currently on the Android Cell Saga, and by the way, if you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z, spoilers, and you know what? You can skip ahead a little bit, but I don't feel terribly bad about this because it's almost as old as I am. So if you haven't seen it yet, you need to get on it.
Exactly, yeah.
Some little kid's like, I don't even know what anime is. What is this Dragon Ball Z?
Look it up. You'll think it.
Anyway, so spoilers coming up. But anyway, my wife hasn't seen Dragon Ball Z. She actually didn't watch anime until we met, so I actually got her started on, what was it? I think it was Code Geass. But after we got married, we rented Dragon Ball from our local library, and she absolutely loved it. And so now I'm finally getting her to watch Dragon Ball Z, which I'm actually loving. I haven't seen Dragon Ball Z since I was a kid, and I still am giddy as fuck every time Goku beats the living shit out of someone.
Exactly.
And the Krillin death count starts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Z and I were actually talking the other day, and there is a subset of people who would argue that Yamcha is stronger than Krillin. And my only response to this, if you're listening to this right now and you think that Yamcha can beat up Krillin, there is a reason that Funimation licensed a Yamcha death scene statue.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, a month ago I saw Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F in theaters, and
oh, how was that? I haven't seen it yet. Do not spoil Resurrection F. I will kick you in the teeth. That is not as old as I am.
I'm just gonna say, it's awesome, and if I have a chance to see a Dragon Ball Z movie in the theater, do it. You will not regret it.
I'd love to. I live in the boonies though, so like no theater around here shows stuff like that.
Yeah, true. I was actually surprised that my local theater an hour away was actually showing it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I'm a little. At first, I was a little weirded out. I'm like, really, we just went Super Saiyan God, and now we're going Super Saiyan what the fuck ever with blue hair. It just feels like overkill at this point, but then I remembered, oh, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z.
Exactly, and let's just say I'm not gonna say, might not say anything, but no, I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay, fair enough. I'm waiting for when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3, and my wife like shits her pants and is like, oh shit, his muscles have muscles.
Exactly.
For me, actually, I prefer
You're
Dragon
watching
Ball.
the Dragon Ball for the original Japanese version or the redone by Funimation that cuts about 20 minutes out of each episode?
I don't know. I'm watching the original. I'm watching what originally aired in the US.
Okay. So 20 minutes cut out.
Could be. I'm unsure. Which, you know what, is for how long Dragon Ball Z takes as is, I'm okay with that. It took a whole.
Say they make it kid friendly.
It took 2 sagas to kill Frieza.
It did.
Do you guys know how long it takes Super Saiyan to screw in a light bulb?
How long?
3 episodes.
3 episodes.
3 episodes of screaming.
3 episodes of screaming and then 10 seconds of turning. So.
And halfway in, Yamcha dies.
So on anime-related news, how do you guys feel about different producers such as Netflix sort of getting into the anime business or similar forms of media with animation?
Like producing like Netflix original shit?
Yeah, they actually produced one called Knights of Sidonia, which the series itself is very hit or miss from what I can tell. I mean, I've watched it. I enjoyed it. It wouldn't be ranked among the best by far, but it was apparently popular enough for Netflix to warrant production on a second season, and they've done the second season and put it up, so apparently there's starting to become more of a demand for stuff like that in the United States.
So do we know who's actually making it, or I assume Netflix is just funding this, right? Like publishing it?
I believe so, which I can actually just
Google is our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a couple of American anime, and it's just like, no thanks. Japan does it better.
Yeah, it does.
Go ahead, Road.
Well, it's based off of a manga, and it's done by Polygon Pictures, and the license network was Netflix, so.
Alright. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I'm fine. On the surface, I'm fine with it. I don't know how well it will work out. But, you know what? If Netflix can produce good anime, I'm cool with that. I mean, I guess, like, on one hand, I don't like that it would be exclusive to Netflix.
Well, I think it really attests to, it really shows how anime is sort of transitioning now to a more acceptable role than it has been in the past. Especially with things like cosplay and conventions really blowing up as much as they have over the past few years, as it's really sort of bringing anime into a more public light, I think, as a whole, to the fact that even in American companies, like, we should go ahead and try and exclusively license this because it's popular.
Right, yeah. I definitely think that we have seen, probably starting in the 90s with Toonami, that anime has become a lot more popular in America. I don't know, I think that in some ways it's a good thing, but I really feel like it's kind of a wait and see thing for me. Like, they may do a great job, they might not. I don't really know.
I suppose you got the age-old question: is if it's made in the Western side of the world, is it called cartoon or anime?
I don't know how to answer that, to be honest, because cartoons aren't necessarily kids' content, because you get stuff like Family Guy, which I consider to be a cartoon, but it's not for kids.
I think that's more of a subgenre of cartoon, really.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon, but it's made as an adult cartoon.
I guess anime I would define as a style of animation. I feel like anime would apply to the Japanese style of animation, because when you look at Western animation, even stuff that isn't meant for kids, that is meant for adults, and you compare that to Japanese animation, you'll notice that there's a distinct difference in the appearance of characters and how things are laid out. And I think that anime would just, for me, it would be applied to stuff that would fit that style of animation.
Well, a good example is, have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I have. I did not like it. I feel like that's a controversial opinion.
Well, the question is, some people consider it anime, some people don't. Is it a cartoon or is it anime? Because you can tell that it does have influences.
I don't know.
I mean, it has a much bigger storyline to it, like most anime does. Because with an anime, you don't get a random thing every episode. You get a continuation of a storyline that climbs up to a climax. So Avatar had that with it. So I guess that's how some people can relate it to anime, maybe?
I am but a man. I cannot answer this question.
I know. I don't know why I put it as a question, but yeah, to me, it has a better storytelling than most cartoons now here in the West. That's something that shares with anime, because anime, most of the time, goes along with the storyline.
Could be. Yeah. I guess I could also see... I mean, I can't think of any examples at the moment, but I could also see a Western cartoon following, story arc as well. For example, I think Disney movies are a good example of that, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
I mean, we consider those to be cartoons. They are for kids, granted, but they do follow a story arc. Before we wrap up here in a bit, what have you guys been watching lately?
I don't think I've seen anything since the last time we spoke, but I think I was watching Glass Fleet last time.
How was that?
A bit disappointing.
Oh, yeah?
I've been recently watching a series called The Irregular at Magic High School. Kind of odd name, but it's not really a bad series. I've been enjoying it pretty thoroughly, and I also watched Noragami not too long ago. It was also enjoyable. I wouldn't rank either of them in the best animes I've ever seen, but I enjoyed them overall.
I have been watching the OVA for Black Lagoon called Roberta's Blood Trail. I'm enjoying it pretty well so far. I got about 3 episodes in, and then I stopped watching. It's only 5 episodes long. And then I stopped watching. I can't remember why. I think I bought like Bloodborne or some shit. and that like completely devoured my life for a month or so. But I've been meaning to start that up again. I recently watched Black Lagoon sometime earlier this year, and I absolutely loved that series. I don't know why I haven't watched it before, actually.
Packed full of action.
What's that?
Packed full of action.
Yeah, it is. It kind of is. And what I like about it is primarily the characters. You guys may remember we had like Anti-April, I believe was our elimination game not long ago. And I nominated Revy, who actually won the Anti-April elimination game, which was for Anti-Heroes. And Revy and a few other characters like Balalaika and Chang and a few others are why I like the series so much. Is because it really is just a bunch of anti-heroes. It's not, we need to save the world, or, we care about money, but we need to band together for the common good. No, it's about a group of mercenaries who are mercenaries through and through and give zero fucks about anything else other than getting the job done.
We'll fix your problems, pay us first.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want us to traffic some humans for you? We'll do it. Just pay us. You want us to attack a research vessel? Yeah, we'll do that. It's like no
vessel
moral
happens
qualms.
to be able to throw missiles. That's just the downside.
Right. I kind of feel like not just in anime, but in most media, there has to be a good guy and there has to be a bad guy. And I like that in Black Lagoon, there is no good guy, there is no bad guy. Everybody is just an asshole.
Exactly.
You just want to root for some assholes more than others.
Yeah. Even the church there are assholes.
What? I can't remember what they call it. It was. They call it the something church. I can't remember what it is.
Hang on, I can probably find out.
But it's just a church that is involved in drug and weapon trafficking.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure I went to that church.
Okay.
Currently, we have the Mech August nomination, not nomination, but elimination game going on, which we vote every month on what theme we're going to go with, and we voted for mechs for August. We haven't had a lot of participation in that, and I feel like mecha is something that's like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea for an elimination game, but then when it comes time to, okay, we need to nominate 32 mecha, everybody's like, oh shit, how many mecha do I really know?
Well, I missed out on that. I only found out about it now. So. And I like mecha, so that really sucks.
The question is, like, how do you pick your favorite mecha? There's so many.
Oh god, there are. You know,
like Gundams, don't even make me list all the Gundams I know.
Oh my god, like half of the competitors are Gundams, and you have to like list the model numbers so that we know which Gundam you're talking about.
Exactly.
One does not simply pick their favorite Gundam.
You don't. I actually nominated the Gundam from 0079, which is the original Gundam series, and I had to explain, no, this Gundam doesn't have a name because it is just Gundam. It is the Gundam, the original one. But yeah, it looks, and this is my prediction, and I could be wrong, but I'm betting that Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann is going to win.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's not going to surprise anyone, but I wholeheartedly expect them to win. Which I feel like mecha that have like special abilities or special traits or powers tend to be more popular in anime than those that don't, as evidenced by every Gundam ever.
Yeah.
But for me, I actually explained this in the thread, I actually prefer simple mecha. I prefer mecha like the original Gundam or the Arbalest from Full Metal Panic. Or if you're familiar with Mech Warrior or the Battletech franchise, which is a video game and tabletop franchise, I love the Magcat from that. I love mechs that are basically these giant walking war machines that are just huge and lumbering, and you just strap a ton of guns to them and they just duke it out.
Platforms.
What's that?
Bipedal weapon platforms.
Yeah. But
One thing.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
One thing that kills me with every mecha is like, you see mechas that have these awesome guns and these incredible weapons. I'm like, why don't you just mount those on your ships, like your spaceships, like? Which I guess it wouldn't be as interesting as if there wasn't mechas flying around destroying everything. But like, they have these little itty bitty Gundams that have enough power to just destroy entire like fleets of ships. I'm like, why don't you just make a mounted cannon on your ship and do that?
Well, if you've ever seen any Gundam series, you'll realize that ships are made of paper mache.
Exactly.
Like, seriously, they'll have like thousands of ships, and they'll have 2 by the end of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if these are considered mechas, but know of the mechas from Ghost in the Shell, like the Tatsukomas?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been so long
I
since
vaguely
I've seen
remember
Ghost in the Shell.
Tatsukomas, yeah.
The last time I saw Ghost in the Shell was in the 90s.
Yeah, I can't remember the names of the huge ones, but they go invisible, have grenade launchers, and I wish I could remember those, but I can only remember the Tatsukomas, which
I know which ones you're talking about. I had to Google it. Yeah, I would consider those to be mecha. They're not like the typical bipedal mecha that you might think of, but I would consider them to be similar to like mobile armor in Mobile Suit Gundam. So in Gundam they have mobile suits, which is the Gundams, and then you have mobile armor, which is stuff that isn't bipedal. It's like got 4 legs or 6 legs or 60 legs. What the fuck ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I consider them to be mecha. I think that's fair. I don't think that any old robot counts as mecha though.
Oh no.
I think that, for me, a mecha is something that is basically a giant tank.
Exactly.
And if I feel if it's not on that scale, then it's not a mecha. But I kind of feel like Gundams and a lot of mecha in Japanese anime is just they're basically I don't find them interesting because they're basically just giant fuck you machines that that obliterate everything in their path.
I really like
Especially
how Code Geass.
Oh yeah,
Code Geass did it pretty well. Yeah.
I feel like Code Geass not only had cool and interesting mecha, I feel like they succeeded where Gundam failed. Because Gundam is all about the mecha. Like, the story and everything is about the mecha. But in Code Geass, it's about rebellion and political intrigue and all these other things. And the mecha are just a means to an end. It's like, yeah, there's a giant war going on, and yeah, we have mechs, but they're just kind of there for us to kill people with. There's nothing special about them.
Yeah, so they're just the tool to get to the means to the end.
Exactly, which I feel is kind of how it should be. I feel like, have you guys seen Gundam 00?
I have, yeah.
No.
It gets a little silly. Setsuna, the main character, is just literally obsessed with Gundams, to the point that he refers to himself as a Gundam.
Exactly.
There's this meme that I love that is just a screen cap from the show and he actually says this in the show. He's like, "Are you a Gundam?" when he's talking to someone, and I'm like, "What the fuck does that even mean?"
Do you have guns hidden in your arms?
One thing that I always found really humorous in Gundam is there's a couple of the series to where, like, there's a neutral nation that's like, we don't want to fight anyone. But then one of their solutions to not fighting everyone is whenever there's a battle going on around them, is they show up and they're like, okay guys, stop fighting or we're gonna fight you.
That's actually the entire premise behind Gundam 00. Spoilers!
Like, guys, that's not how you get people to stop fighting.
Yeah, in Gundam 00, it's basically, we have bigger guns than you do, and if you guys fight each other, we're gonna kill everyone. And I'm like,
pretty much.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Just to draw a circle to a close, would you count Metal Gears' mechs?
Yeah, Metal Gear, definitely mecha. I would say they were definitely mecha.
Have you seen the teaser for the Phantom Pain's Metal Gear?
I saw the commercial. Did you guys see the commercial with the wedding?
Yeah.
I saw that. But basically, there's a Metal Gear Solid 5 commercial where it's a wedding and it's all in Japanese, so I didn't understand it, a word of it. But basically, this couple's getting married and they're all in like the cardboard boxes that Solid Snake uses to sneak around. And then I saw something else that featured Metal Gear Rex, but I haven't seen anything more than that.
Let's just say, not trying to spoil anything, but it does share some design with Rex.
Oh yeah.
It looks like Rex, and then it's not Rex.
Okay.
And it's scary.
Fair enough. Which answer me this, because I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, and I do not know the answer to it. Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5. Which Snake is that again?
It's the one from 3. It's Big Boss.
So it's Naked Snake, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's John.
See, I thought it was Naked Snake, but then shit was getting all futuristic, and I'm like, I'm confused.
Yeah, the timeline's a little wacky. It goes like 3, which is Snake Eater, then the Portable Ops games, then Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain, Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, then Revengeance timeline-ish.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
something
from
like that.
just from looking at like the trailers and shit, it looks like it would take place post Metal Gear Solid 4. But I'm like, it can't be Solid Snake, because he's old and dead and shit.
Have you seen the blonde kid running around that's like named Eli or something in the trailer? The theory is that that's actually Liquid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then one of the later trailers, it has the two brothers, Liquid and Solid, next to one another. Because Solid Snake's natural hair color is actually blonde, but he had to dye it, and the first one to be indistinguishable from the terrorist leader.
I don't remember that. I did play the first one, I just don't remember it.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Once I'm out of the hospital and find out what's going on, it'll be a lot more fun, I think.
I'm definitely going to play
once.
it. I'm probably going to wait I'm probably going to wait a while. It's not top priority for me. I'm saving my money for Fallout 4. Coming up very, very soon. And once I play Fallout 4, I can die happy.
Or sad.
And
depending on how it is.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about Fallout 4 just really quickly. Because I feel like we have to talk about Fallout 4.
Fair enough.
I'm sure you guys have heard about the leveling system, right? How skill points have been removed, and it's going to be entirely the special system now. How do you guys feel about that?
I suppose it's a little... If you can up your specials, I'm alright with it. Like, if you can, like, do, I don't know, quest lines to improve your special skills, I'm fine with that. But if it locks you into whatever you select at the start, you're pretty much stuck with that build.
Yeah. From my understanding, you should be able to get 10 in all special stats eventually, which I feel like is the opposite extreme, where it's like the game isn't forcing you to specialize, but it's not making you specialize at all. You can just be a jack of all trades, which, for me at least, isn't any fun. I like the game to tell me to go fuck myself sometimes.
But then you got some games that give you the option where you can either sneak around, do anything, go and blow everything up, or find an alternative route and go around the whole area.
Right, which I think is important. I also worry that Fallout 4 is going to focus much too heavily on combat. So whatever kind of character you have, it will have to be a combat-oriented character. Somebody asked Bethesda, will you be able to do a pacifist run of Fallout 4, which you could do in New Vegas, which was actually developed by Obsidian. Not Bethesda. And they said no, you will not be able to do a 100% pacifist run. But they did say that they are trying to make it so that for the majority of quests, you will have some other option other than just shooting them in the face.
It might be blowing them up with grenades, or stabbing them in the throat, but you don't have to shoot them in the face.
Yeah.
So that takes me back to the first time every time I start a Fallout 3 games, I go straight down to Megaton and shoot that guy that's in the suit that wants to get you to blow up Megatown to get his suppressed 10
Mr.
mil.
Burke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot him in the back of the head, take his 10 mil, then leave.
Have you ever blown up Megaton?
Yes. And Maura Brown survived.
I
and
know!
That
oh
was
my God.
more disappointing than, not having that town there anymore.
She just turns into a ghoul.
One thing that I'm sort of against with the skill system is I feel like it takes away a layer of character depth, which, Bethesda's sort of famous for removing features in every single new release they make but I worry that they're caring too much about graphics and shooting, and they're worrying less and less about gameplay and the role-playing aspect, which, if we wanted to play a shooter, we would go play Call of Duty or Halo. Fallout 4 is meant to be something more than a shooter, and I just feel like removing skills, it's not going to be a deal breaker for me, but I still think it'll be a good game without it. But for me, it might lose a little bit of its Fallout feel.
Right, I think that's fair enough. But you know what? As long as they don't turn it into Skyrim, I'll be okay. Skyrim made me sad.
Although on the flip side, they did add an in-depth crafting system into it, which looks rather interesting.
Which I am happy about. I actually am very happy about that. I'm also happy about the fact that you can build your own town. I hope that we don't have to sacrifice any actual in-game any depth to the game in order to get those features. But I do think that they are awesome features to have.
Well, I think it's good to add gimmicky features like those. I mean, they're useful, they're cool features, but really they came off to me more like they're marketing gimmicks. And like they said that the crafting system isn't even necessary to the game. And to me that's like, well, why would you make such an in-depth, incredible system and then make it not necessary to the game? Well, it seems like that sort of, it feels like you're not really using your resources correctly, I guess.
Maybe so, but then like you get the people who just don't enjoy crafting.
Wonder what the statistics say about it.
I don't know.
When you try to appeal to everyone, you really appeal to no one.
I do wholeheartedly agree, and you know what? As long as it isn't another Skyrim, which I do feel was all bells and whistles and no meat and potatoes, then I think we'll be okay. So, do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
I've done enough, I think.
Not really.
Done enough damage.
We've damned ourselves enough for one day. Okay. Do any of you guys have any social media, any projects you have going on that you would like the general public to know about?
Not right now.
Nope. Okay. Well, as for me, you can find me on JustDubsOnline.net and read my weekly articles. I post them every Sunday. I write about Japanese history, Japanese culture, funny shit in Japan, like poop-flavored curry, and myself and Heisengard take care of video game-related news. But if none of that is your cup of tea, you can also come there to discuss various animes that you like, play some of our forum games, or get involved with the various clubs on JustDubsOnline.net. We do have a new club on JustDubs Online called the Tabletop Guild. If you're into Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, or any type of pen and paper RPG or tabletop game, including card games, you should stop by, and we play games every month, and we'd love to have you along. And that's it for now. This has been the JustDubs Cast, the official podcast of JustDubs Online, the original JustDubs, except no impersonators or substitutions. We will see you again very, very soon. Thanks so much for listening, and goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.